I've said this many times, chums. One of the core issues with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, aside from the fact that they create problems themselves, is that they simply don't have the right people around them. And that really is the bigger issue. Because what you need, even if you're a major celebrity, is guidance. Think back to icons like Elizabeth Taylor, or fast forward to modern megastars such as Lady Gaga or Madonna. They are acutely aware of where they go, who they meet, and how those encounters are managed. Because one poorly handled interaction can spiral out of control very quickly. We've seen a perfect example of this recently with Liza Minnelli's autobiography, where she revealed for the first time that she felt pressured into appearing on stage at the Academy Awards by Lady Gaga. That revelation has instantly become the dominant talking point of the book, because quite clearly, that's the headline moment, the bombshell that overshadows everything else. When you look at someone like Meghan Markle and Prince Harry during her relatively short time inside the monarchy, everything was meticulously organized for them. There was always a clear itinerary. They knew, he knew, and certainly knows now, how the system works, what was happening, who they were meeting, when it would happen, and a bit of background on each engagement. Then, on the way over, they'd be briefed in the car. When you step out, you'll be meeting XYZ. They're responsible for this part of the visit, and this is what they do. That kind of preparation gives you a basic framework, making you appear informed and, more importantly, competent in the moment. And because of that, you rarely put a foot wrong. What we're seeing now, though, and it almost always ends the same way, is chaos. I'm not saying that with any sneer, but you do find yourself wondering, how is it that they still can't seem to get anything right? I'd argue, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, chums, that the real reason they keep running into trouble is down to their constantly changing team. The people they have around them are, for the most part, simply used to dealing with celebrities. And that's the issue. They don't understand the mechanics of a so-called royal-style tour, and that misunderstanding creates a massive problem. Behind the scenes, things are now starting to unravel in a very real way. In fact, it's reached the point where someone is preparing to write directly to King Charles III. Yes, this could well be the turning point many have been waiting for. As ever, let me explain. Morning. Good to see you, Jums. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. And a warm welcome to one and all to our friendly little channel. I hope you're doing well. It's been one of those weeks, busy from start to finish. Has yours been the same? I often say this, and I truly mean it. I honestly don't know where the days go. I woke up the other morning and had to check my phone thinking, oh, it's Thursday. For some reason, I was convinced it was still Wednesday, and as for Tuesday, I've no idea where that went. And then, of course, there's everything else you have to fit in. You go to the bank, you meet people, and suddenly 2 hours have vanished because someone's made an error on your account. And you find yourself wondering, what on earth just happened there? You and I both know that in winter, you're always racing against the clock, aren't you? I don't know about you, but I really don't like being out once it gets dark. It's not paranoia, it's just common sense. Especially in a city like this, you have to be careful. So, I tend to avoid wandering around too late at night. I'm sure you understand exactly what I mean. And in a way, it's not unlike Prince Harry. People like that really shouldn't be allowed to drift around the world without proper supervision. We're talking about Meghan Markle and Harry during a week that's been, at best, a qualified disaster, particularly the moment involving his wife sitting beside the bed of a young girl who is an amputee. I have a great deal of sympathy for that girl, and I genuinely thought she was incredibly brave to allow that moment to be filmed. Going on camera like that isn't easy, and it will undoubtedly help younger people facing similar challenges. That said, even acknowledging all of that, the situation was crass on every level. Given the complicated history Lamarl has with her own family, and all of this being done under the banner of humanitarianism, you really couldn't script something more misjudged if you tried, could you? But of course, it all seems to slide straight past Laurel. And that, right there, is the heart of the problem. Things then took a turn for the worse when Prince Harry decided to give an interview. The conversation was meant to focus on why he was there, yet it was immediately obvious, almost from the first moment, that Harry didn't really know. He looked completely out of his depth, frankly clueless. This is where it starts to unravel behind the scenes. The reporter from Channel 4 had clearly done his homework. And, to be fair to him, he was extremely gentle. He wasn't allowed to bring up Prince Andrew any of the wider royal controversies or the rift with Prince William. The agreement was that the discussion would stay firmly on that one specific subject. And to his credit, he stuck to it. But by sticking to it, one thing became painfully clear. Harry didn't know the detail. In fact, he knew virtually nothing at all. Within hours, the situation escalated. The Deputy Foreign Minister, Sharon Haskell, effectively redirected Harry, pointing him toward the realities of open borders, guidance, and international cooperation. The very things Harry had been publicly lamenting should be closed off. This is where it becomes especially awkward. According to a source, Harry felt he should have been given more direction, particularly by the reporter, who clearly understood the topic far better than he did. You can almost see the reporter trying to keep things on track, thinking, this is getting absurd, yet pressing on regardless. And as I said, it gets worse. This is where the real issue of diplomacy and diplomatic collapse comes into play. What you're left with are two micro-celebrities, a wickless candle seller, and of course, Prince Harry, currently without a role. And as I've said before, the signs were there immediately. You only have to look at the footage to think, you genuinely don't know what you're doing here. Now, if a letter does end up going to King Charles III, then the king is dragged into a situation that was never an official visit to begin with. Even the hapless Star government are now backing away from it, effectively saying, this has nothing to do with us. There's a much bigger story brewing here, believe me. But the immediate problem for Harry is that he's increasingly isolated. And every step along the way, this just makes him appear even more out of his depth than he already has. At this point, he really only has two options. He could issue a public apology, admit he was misinformed, and try to close the chapter. Or, and this is usually how it goes, someone else will end up carrying the blame. That's the standard pattern in the world of Meghan Markle and Harry. My suspicion is that the spotlight is slowly shifting toward James Holt, the individual they rely on so heavily and without whom these faux royal tours simply wouldn't function. Either way, what they believed would be a strong rebuke to the monarchy has once again backfired. Instead, someone is now preparing to contact His Majesty the King directly. Harry is left unsure which way to turn. While the final irony is that Meghan is still busy boasting about selling paper clips, or whatever it is, on her Instagram page. Just another useless, hapless week in the land of the Sussexes.